Today we're going to talk about how to use proportions to solve word problems. We're going to be using this note to work through several word problems and solve them with the help of proportions. In the very first box, you guys see some hints and suggestions as to how to make sure to solve and set up your proportion. Super important. When we're using proportions to solve word problems, we have to be very consistent with our units. So you guys see in two boxes that have units only labeled, and I want to make sure that you guys are seeing that your miles and miles are for some reason crisscross from each other. That's absolutely not going to be acceptable. Units must match on each side of the equal sign. Absolutely must match. So when you guys are looking at the second situation, miles and miles here, hours and hours here, they matched up. They both are in numerator or in the denominator. So I really like this hint right here. It says, set up a key when writing proportions to make sure that the units stay consistent. We're definitely going to be following this hint as we work through our questions today. So example number 1, the ratio of hot dogs to hamburgers sold at a baseball stadium is 8:3. If there were 272 hot dogs that were sold, how many hamburgers were sold? So here's my little bit of a key. So hot dogs versus hamburgers. Or you can do HB, however you would like to abbreviate this. So hot dogs to hamburgers. 8 hot dogs to 3 hamburgers. So this is important. This is from our discussion on Thursday when we discussed that it is important to stay true to the information given to you. Your words and your numbers really have to match. So then we are told that there were 272 hot dogs. So 272 hot dogs. How many hamburgers? We don't know. That's our X. And from here, we will go ahead and solve them. We're going to use our cross products. 8x equaling 816. Then we dividing by our coefficient. X going to be equaling 102 hamburgers. All right. Example number 2. Ratio of children to teachers at the preschool is 14:5. Children to teachers, 14:5. I know the ratio is given to you guys in this format, but I would like to go ahead and set it up as a fraction, as a ratio in the fraction form, so we can have our proportion. We're going to be ready for our proportion. So it says, how many children are at the preschool if there are 30 teachers? So we're looking for children. How many? We don't know. We have 30 teachers right here. All right. Children, children, teachers, teachers. 5x equaling 420. Dividing by 5. X equaling 84 children. All right, question number 3. Malaya bought 32 pieces of candy for $16. The next day, she returns to buy more candy with $4. How many pieces can she buy? So, dollars to candy. 16 to 32 for 2x. So at this point, I do want to talk to you guys about the alternative that we could be using to solve some of these proportions. As we discussed before, guys, if you notice the relationship between your numbers, you're definitely welcome to use that relationship. So hopefully you guys have seen from 16 to 4, we have reduced our values by 4 times. We can use the same proportionality to our denominator values, and as a result, x is going to be equal in 8, which represents 8 pieces of candy. All right, question number 4. Love that we have an opportunity to see this because our information has been truly spelled out, not, so it is in words, not in numbers. 3 out of 4 kids have at least one sibling. So how would you label this? The 3 out of 4. Total have sibling. So they asked 4 kids, 3 have a sibling. So how many have a sibling? It says if there are 30 students in your school, so 300 kids in your school, how many would have at least one? So just knowing where to place that unknown value is going to be very important. All right, finding our cross products here. We will have 4x equaling 900. We dividing by coefficient, x equaling 225 students. All right, let's take a look at question 5 and 6. So we have Dave is moving to a new house 5 kilometers away from his old house. If 1 mile is approximately 1.6 kilometers, how many miles are between 2 houses? You might say, whoa, this is a little bit different. It's okay, guys. It's okay. Let's make sure that we are labeling, writing things down. It's going to be a great introduction to what we're working on tomorrow. So these are the values that we're working with. So let's don't stress about it. Let's start labeling. We're talking about miles and kilometers. So we know that 1 mile is 1.6 kilometers. And we know that his new house is 5 kilometers away. So even though these measurements might be a little bit unfamiliar to us, we still can fill in information based on the labels only. So you can do this, guys. So from here, again, we're going to be cross-multiplying 1 and 6 tenths x is going to be equal to 5. Dividing both sides by our coefficient. The value of x is about 3.1 miles. This is a little bit harder example, like I've mentioned before, because you might not be very familiar with kilometers versus miles and how they're equal or different. But it's okay. We will be working on more of these types of questions. And the last example in this particular note, let's take a look at it. So we have a fee to check luggage with the new airline is based on the weight of each bag. Brett paid $7 to check 42-pound bag. How much will Aileen pay if her bag weighs 63 pounds? So dollars versus pounds. 7.14 for 42. This is the first ratio that we have. And we are asked, how much did she pay if her bag was 63 pounds? So this is a really good situation because what you guys are seeing is not a pretty set of numbers, and it's okay. So as we discussed before, finding cross products, this is the way to solve these equal proportions. They create an equation, 449.82 We're going to be dividing both sides by our coefficient. X is equaling $10.71. So these are great set of examples. So when you guys are practicing, I want to make sure that you are matching your labels. That is the key to success. Number one, matching up your labels to where you are staying true to your proportion and solving it correctly. For the rounding, just a little bit of reminder, make sure you're reading your directions. I know this note was led by me. However, make sure when you needing to do the rounding with the money, you guys are going to be rounding to the nearest cent. So just like in our last situation, $10.71. And in other situations, just follow the lead, how specifically they're asking you to do the rounding. Please make sure to reach out with any questions and make sure you guys are practicing solving this proportion word problem using Quizizz link.